my name is Judith. My story is included in my own book of the Bible. The book of Judith is in the Deuterocanonical book, included in the Septuagint and the Catholic and Eastern Orthodox Christian Old Testament of the Bible, but excluded from the Jewish texts and assigned by the Protestants to the Apocrypha. I don't always pronounce words very well. That's okay. I can pronounce Judith. I am the daughter of Merari, who is the son of Ox. My husband's name is Manasseh, who belonged to my tribe and my family, but unfortunately died during the barley harvest. My husband left me very well provided for with gold and silver, livestock, and plenty of land. I have been told that I'm beautiful and lovely of face, yet no one speaks ill of me because I fear God and I pray to him with great devotion. I live in Bethulia, the town at the entrance of the narrow corridor leading to Jerusalem. The Assyrians have laid siege for 34 days on my town and have cut the water supply off. Understandably, the citizens have become very angry, thirsty, and desperate. This has not allowed them to make good decisions. The citizens have gone to Uzziah and the town's other magistrates and have demanded that the town surrender to the Assyrians in 5 days, unless the Lord takes pity on them. This has made me very angry. Can you imagine putting God to the test this way? You do not test God in this manner. Rather than go to where the elders meet, I have summoned them to my home to let them know how very angry I am, that the citizens have said this to God, and that the elders have given in to the demands. I say to them, listen to me, rulers of the people of Bethulia. You have said to the people today, what you have said to the people today is not right. You have even sworn and pronounced this oath between God and you, promising to surrender the city to our enemies, unless the Lord turns and helps us within so many days. Who are you that you have put God to the test this day, and are setting yourselves up in the place of God among the sons of men? You are putting the Lord Almighty to the test, but you will never know anything. You cannot plumb the depths of the human heart, nor find out what a man is thinking. How do you expect to search out God, who made all these things, and to find out his mind or comprehend his thoughts? No, my brethren, do not provoke the Lord our God to anger. For if he does not choose to help us within these 5 days, he has power to protect us within any time he pleases, or even to destroy us in the presence of our enemies. Do not try to bind the purposes of the Lord our God, for God is not like man, to be threatened, nor like a human being to be won over by pleading. Therefore, while we wait for his deliverance, let us call upon him to help us, and he will hear our voice if it pleases him. I say to the elders, listen to me, I am about to do a thing which will go down through the generations of our descendants. I refuse to tell them my plan, but the elders still praise me and do my bidding in the plan. I demand that the gates to the city be opened so that my maid and I can be let out of the city. For the plan, I dress in a way to entice all of the eyes of the men who we might see. We are stopped by an Assyrian border patrol of about 100 men, and we are taken directly to Holofernes, the invading Assyrian general and our enemy. When we get to the general, I spin a tale claiming to have direct access to God, and I promise to guide Holofernes and his army through the hill country to Jerusalem without the loss of any lives. Holofernes is very delighted with this plan and is intrigued by the plan, but more so he's intrigued by me. The plan is working. He welcomes me to the camp and grants my request to travel through the camp at will at night, to bathe at a spring, and to pray. I dangle myself alluringly as bait and wait for 3 days for a chance to strike and save Israel. I know the power of physical beauty and use it to my advantage. Holofernes is mesmerized by my beauty, and lust blinds him to my deceit. Holofernes puts together a small banquet and has his steward invite me to join him in his tent for a beautiful meal that includes wine. He has been very anxious to get me alone and hopes to entice me with food and wine. I dress carefully and seductively because I know this will be the night to carry out my plan. My maid lays out soft fleece on the ground so that I can recline comfortably while eating. I eat slowly and drink the wine very sparingly. Holofernes, on the other hand, drinks more wine this night than on any other night of his life. The slaves, knowing that Holofernes wants to be alone with me, leave us to our privacy. My maid waits outside the bedchamber, as is her custom. Holofernes promptly passes out on his own bed because of all the wine he's had to drink. I step over to the bed and raise a prayer. I say, O Lord God of all might, look in the hour upon the work of my hands for the exaltation of Jerusalem. For now is the time to help thy inheritance and to carry out my undertaking for the destruction of the enemies who have risen up against us. I went to the post at the end of the bed, and I took down Holofernes' own sword. I then took hold of his hair and said, Give me strength this day, O Lord God of Israel. I then struck his neck twice with all my might and severed his head from his body. I then tumbled his body off the bed and pulled down the canopy from its posts. I took the head and gave it to my waiting maid, and she placed it in a food bag. And then we walked through the camp, as we had done on all our other nights there, and circled around and made our way back to Bethulia and its gate. We hung the head of Holofernes on the city wall, and on seeing it there, the men of my city took up their weapons to meet the Assyrian army. When the Assyrians saw what was happening, they sent word to the camp of Holofernes because they couldn't believe the oddity that was happening, that the men of Bethulia were coming out to fight. Holofernes' steward went to wake him and discovered his headless body. Realizing I wasn't in the tent, they searched my tent in the camp and realized that I was gone and had been the one to murder Holofernes. This act, that a lone Hebrew woman had slayed the mighty general, sent terror through the Assyrian army, causing them all to flee. After saving the town, I settled into life in my husband's house. I was desired for marriage by many men, but I never remarried and remained a widow. I became more famous as the years wore on, and I lived to be 105 years old. But before dying, I made sure that I freed my maid and made sure to disperse of all my property and goods to my family. Upon my death, I was buried beside my husband. This has been my story.